Good morning and welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. Our focus this morning will begin with a Milwaukee alderman who represents District 1. He was first elected to the Common Council in 2004 and was most recently elected by his colleagues as Milwaukee's new Common Council president. I'm pleased to welcome back to Our Issues Milwaukee, Alderman Ashanti Hamilton. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back,
Well,
Andrea.
thank you for being here and congratulations on being reelected as alderman of the 1st District, and really this is a huge deal for you to be the president of the Milwaukee Common Council. So right off the bat, tell us how you feel being elected to this position.
Well, it's a huge responsibility. You know, quite honestly, is second in command behind the mayor. And, you know, we have 14 dynamic members on the council. So to have the opportunity to be the president of this body, and to kind of elevate my leadership skills in the city, I think it's an important time and for our city, but it's also an opportunity for us to be able to work together and solve some big issues in the city of Milwaukee.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you are second in command behind the mayor. So if for any reason Mayor Barrett's unable to fulfill his responsibilities, that's where you would step in to do that. But what are some of the other responsibilities that go along with being Common Council president?
Right. Well, one of the biggest things that deal with as Common Council president is assigning committee chairs. And you assign the role of the other council members on those committees. And why is that important? Because that's really the way that the city gets its business done. So almost every ordinance, every file that you see, activity that you see in the city, it comes before one of those 7 standing committees. And so it's important because sometimes if you can't get things past the committee, then it never sees the light of day in the city. So whether it's resources and where they go, or whether it's our approach to public safety, finance and personnel issues throughout the city. I mean, we're passing a $1.5 billion budget on an annual basis. That's a major impact in our economy in the city, and it's a major impact on a lot of people who work for the city of Milwaukee.
Yeah, and just looking at that and dissecting it for what you just described, so I would think your responsibility would be knowing most of the council members who have been there for quite a while, such as yourself. You know the strengths, the weaknesses, you know how they feel about different things, so you would want to place people where you feel comfortable that they will get something accomplished.
Exactly. You want to place people where they have talents and where they have interest. You know, you really don't want to put people in places where they have absolutely no interest in digging into the issues, because on any given cycle, every 3 weeks, all 7 committees are meeting. They have to be engaged with the issues that's coming before their committee in order for them to give it the type of attention that's needed. And so we also work very closely with department heads, trying to decide what it is that they're going to focus on too. And so a large part of what we do individually is trying to deliver some quality service to the constituents that we represent, and at the same time trying to pay attention to what impacts the city at large.
Okay, you unseated Alderman Michael Murphy, who was Common Council president for 2 years, with a unanimous 15-0 vote. That says quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we do consider ourselves to be a team down there. We do recognize that that in order to get anything done, we're still going to have to get 8 votes in order to make those things happen. But, you know, Alderman Murphy has been on the council for over 20 years.
He's the longest serving alderman on the council, right?
He's the longest serving alderman on the council. You know, so I don't think it was any reflection on his leadership. But what I think, you know, the statement of this replacement is, I think this is a special time in our city, and I think the council members thought that my vision at this particular point in time was something that would be helpful for the council in trying to move our city forward.
Okay, so let's look at that. Why is it so important for you to be in this position at this time?
Well, one of the things that we just have to face as a reality, as wonderful as our city is that we've also been known for some of the great disparities that exist here. Whether we're talking about the disparity in housing with segregation, we're one of the most segregated cities in the nation. Whether we're talking about the disparities in academic achievement, we have one of the largest achievement gaps between communities of color and white communities. We have one of the largest poverty rates, pushing 30%. And you know, we love to see development and growth happen in our city. We absolutely understand that we have great amenities in our lakes and our parks, but we have to have a defined and clear plan for dealing with concentrated poverty in our city, and people should be able to see what that plan is, and we have to make a commitment that this year would be better than last year. We have to be able to say that to the residents that live in this city. And you know, I think I'm willing to say that. I don't think most elected officials are willing to put their political careers on the line saying that we're gonna tackle that problem. That is the problem that we need to tackle. There's very few politicians that would wanna put their political reputation and futures on that promise. I don't think it's necessary for me to be in political office if I can't make that happen.
Wow. So as Common Council President, as soon as you were sworn in, you called on the city and the aldermen to unify, and you've warned that people who are coming in trying to obstruct things and stop things from happening, that's not going to go very well.
No, it's not going to go very well. Right?
Okay.
It's not going to, and you know, not only am I talking to members, I'm talking to everybody in this city who would be responsible for helping us make this happen, right? If you are in a position, if you are tasked with the responsibility for improving our city, and you have the means to do so, and you're counting on the city to help you in your operation, and you're extracting the resources of this city to help you be successful, then you need to give something back to this city in order to make it great, so that it can continue to give to others.
So give and take.
Give and take. It's a give and take. So so whether it's on the council with members, you know, because you know we do have a system. This is government. We're not known for necessarily moving fast, but we do have to move with a sense of urgency, with a sense of crisis that's before us on these issues. And folks who are not going to be supportive of the efforts to make those things happen, to close those disparate gaps, then we're not going to be as friendly to them as well.
All right. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of commitment that goes into just you being in political office as a whole, because you are a native of Milwaukee. You grew up on East Hour Avenue.
Right.
You attended Riverside High School, then Marquette University before getting a law degree at Thurgood Marshall Law School at Texas Southern University. All great things there. What are your hopes for the city of Milwaukee?
Well, I think I can be real clear with that. There should be no other city of our size, you know, in our rank. We shouldn't have a peer city that's performing better economically. We shouldn't have a peer city that's outperforming us in education. We shouldn't have a peer city that's outperforming us in providing economic opportunities for its residents. And we shouldn't have, you know, another city that's outdoing us on economic development opportunities. We have too many amenities. We have too many resources. This is a great place to live when you talk to people who live here. So it should be reflected in our, we should be more competitive. You know, I'm an athlete, right? Every time we stepped on the field, we had the belief that we could win. We didn't take our place as some second tier city, and we didn't just accept some of these descriptions that you know, that Milwaukee is being known for.
Yeah.
We're accepting that as a, you know, as just some type of reality. And really at this, you know, at this juncture in and our history, we should be aiming for something else.
Okay.
We want to be the best.
Yeah, that world-class city, that all of the things that happen here really, you're saying that the things that we have to show should be what is shown.
Right.
So I get it. I get it.
Right.
So
and we got to recognize that we're global, right? You know, we have to recognize that we're not just competing, you know, with other cities within the country. That we're in a global economy. We are. We have a global footprint, and a lot of the interactions that businesses that are coming to Milwaukee would need in order to be successful is not even just necessarily something that we need to look at, you know, in a city-to-city comparison. This is a global, regional kind of experience that we need to commit ourselves
and
to.
you want the city to be seen just as that. So I definitely don't want to forget about the first district. That is ultimately who you are representing. What are your goals for the first district?
Right. And so what I'm trying to do with the first is to demonstrate a lot of the different things that can be done on the ground, on a neighborhood level, that can produce a sense of safety, a sense of accomplishment on a very localized level, right? Most of the experiences that we have in our neighborhoods are, you know, they really don't connect to this global conversation that sometimes we get caught up in. People feel safe in the neighborhood when there's certain activity that's going on in the neighborhood. It's an interaction between neighbors, right? There's a what aesthetically it looks like in that neighborhood gives you a sense of safety. So, you know, so it's a number of initiatives I'm just trying to push in the first, just to kind of demonstrate what those, you know, what that could look like in transforming a neighborhood.
Yeah, you were here around the same time last year,
Right.
and you talked about your promise zones and the strong neighborhood plans that you had. And I'm assuming that all those initiatives worked to the point where you will continue them this year
Right.
as well. What I did want to bring up, we have just about a minute left because we talked about this last year when you were here as well. The carjackings, the auto thefts with young people mostly committing them with handguns, and really everybody in the city kind of on edge thinking, am I next? Because we're at what, 1,800 auto thefts compared to 1,700 this time last year. And when we conversated, you said that, you know, you weren't for really putting hefty penalties on these young people, but there are others who feel like there has to be some type of example set because it keeps getting worse.
Right, right. So one of the things I don't want us to pretend as if we don't have hefty penalties for them now, right? So, you know, we catch somebody that's still in a car, there's an opportunity for a judge to slap them hard with a penalty. The judge has the discretion on whether to do so or not. What we were discussing on whether or not that should be mandatory, and so if that's mandatory, that's no judge discretion on being able to do that. But here's what I would like to see. Most of the folks who are actually participating in this type of activity are, many of them are repeat offenders. And most of them are, have had this interaction with the police department. They're on somebody's watch list, right? They're either supposed to be supervised already, they're supposed to be participating with a, you know, with a parole officer of some sort like that, or they're on a bracelet. What we're finding, if you talk to the judges who are actually issuing these sentences, is that if they had a stronger alternative sentencing program where they could actually send these young people to, because what we're doing is they get caught coming out of really bad home type of environments. They get caught in the court system. They get penalized for something. Then they get sent back home into this toxic environment that they're in with no real supervision, no real expectation, no real requirements. If there was a real alternative sentencing opportunity so that we can actually have community folks, community organizations, folks that have been trained in being able to deal with this population, to actually serve as a substitute supervision entity. Require them to actually go through a rites of passage, a reintroduction, a intervention strategy that would redirect them from the activity that they were involved in. It has to be a revolution of values, as Martin Luther King would say. That would have to be a revolution, right? We wouldn't be able to simply punish them with, you know, all right, it's mandatory that you go to jail for stealing this car for 2 years. You spend your 2 years, you know, in Lincoln Hills, and then you come back to the city worse than you were when we sent you to the, you know, to be locked up in the first place. So
yeah, well, obviously, this is a conversation we'll have to have. That
right.
means that you'll have to come back soon. So
that I will do. I love talking about these issues.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the stuff that we have going on in neighborhoods right now could be a segment of discussion by itself.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. And again, congratulations
Thank you.
on all of your accomplishments, including being promoted or actually added to MATC's board as well.
Right.
Appointed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you,
Thank you,
Alderman
Andrea.
Ashanti Hamilton. He represents Milwaukee's 1st District, and he's also president of the Milwaukee Common Council. For more information on anything that we've discussed, you can log on to milwaukee.gov or call 414-286-2228. When we return to Our Issues Milwaukee, we'll continue to focus on members of the Milwaukee Common Council. We'll catch up with former Milwaukee County Supervisor Khalif Rainey, who is now the newly elected alderman of Milwaukee's 7th District. We'll do that right after this.